You got a friend in me.
You've got a friend in me.
You just remember what your old pal said, boy. You got a friend in me.
Heyo, it's Josh here. We are on vacation. We are in the Philippines right now. I'm just close to our room right now. I honestly didn't feel like recording I honestly didn't feel like recording like a new Pixar video, but I don't know, it's like that time of day, so let's just get this over with. Lightyear isn't totally awful. Everyone has already given their beef about this movie, but for me personally, this isn't the worst Pixar film out there, nor is it one of the worst animated films in general. It has a couple of things going for it, and it's not as terrible as The Good Dinosaur, but it doesn't make any sense. The concept of making a movie centered around the human that inspired the Buzz Lightyear toy sounds cool on paper, but boy did it stumble in execution. I think most people choose to consider this film not canon to the Toy Story universe, and after rewatching it, yeah, I can definitely see why. So without further ado, here's why Lightyear failed to work as a spin-off to the Toy Story series. I will give the movie this. I like that it at least tried to find a way to spin off Buzz Lightyear. The entire movie hinges on the idea that Andy went to go see a movie that made him love a character and made him want a toy of that character, but we, the audience, have never seen the movie that made Andy want to go get a Buzz Lightyear toy. So there's a new idea put into the franchise that explores Buzz's character in a whole new way, in terms of who he is, what his motivations are, what makes him tick, and in general what type of hero he tries to be throughout the film. So I don't hate how the concept is on paper. Finding a clever way of telling an original story with a character we're already familiar with is pretty interesting. The problem is how they execute that idea. While I think Lightyear stands alone well enough, the specific plot and the way they decide to tell it feels generic. And that's the biggest and most lingering problem with the entire movie. The story. So much of it feels unoriginal, making for a kind of fun, but also pseudo-feel type of sci-fi film we're already familiar with. And it doesn't help that the way certain aspects of it were directed and written and paced felt off. The direction, first of all, felt stiff and rushed, and there's a lot of scenes where it's difficult to connect with what's going on because everything's moving at a brisk pace. And then we have the writing, which has the exact same problems. There's other scenes where it feels like the story is leaping a bit and not flowing as strongly as it could have. There's also some stuff with the villain, which we'll get to later. Another thing I thought was leaping in certain bits was with Buzz's entire motivation. He spends the whole movie trying to fix a mistake he made, but nobody expresses disappointment with him for what he did, and they all seem to live okay, safe lives. There's no real hook to this movie other than the fact that Buzz is upset with himself for something he did. It's not super interesting because there's no emotional hook to it. No one else seems to care about what Buzz did, so what's the reason for me to care? It tries to be an emotional journey of Buzz learning to accept his mistake, but again, it comes across as rushed and there's not enough focus spent on it. And now we get to the villain. Oh god, where do I begin? So, if you've seen this movie, you'll probably already know that this version of Emperor Zurg is not Buzz's dad.
I'll never give in. You killed my father!
No, Buzz. I am your father.
No!
He's an alternate timeline version of Buzz in the future.
Dad?
Everyone I know who has seen this movie absolutely despises both Zurg and his twist. And yeah, I can see why. Alternate timeline versions of other characters don't get brought up once until this reveal, and there is no indication that the present version of Buzz is capable of turning into this heavy metal robot monster. His very existence in the universe of this movie and the entire Toy Story franchise is confusing as heck. Not to mention he isn't around long enough to actually be a villain. He has zero stage presence for the first half, But then he shows up out of nowhere in the second half to chase down the heroes. He catches Buzz and takes him to his ship, which is where he tells Buzz about his plan, and it's the exact same motivation present-day Buzz had. You know, I saw a tweet from someone that said that the twist with Zurg is the exact same as the twist villain in Lego Movie, and yeah, they're both extremely the same villains. It's like Disney watched that movie and told Pixar, hey, do that twist, but worse. They didn't do a good job of explaining how he came into being and why his whole mindset is like this. It feels like he shouldn't be this unreasonable. Yeah, it's all for a good cause, but then why does he do the things he does? So yeah, the movie has a gigantic villain twist problem that drags it down ever so slightly. Overall, the best phrase I can use to describe this movie is peaks and valleys. On the upside, it's watchable enough. The animation is great as always, some of the action sequences are cool, and it has some funny moments. But on the downside, the main characters don't have a strong enough journey, the villain sucks, it has a super clunky plot, it's a mess to say the least. And as Pixar's big return to theaters, it stings even more. So, overall, better than Strange World.
Well, I appreciate your appreciation, but maybe you appreciate me a little bit more and respect my wishes, please.
And maybe you should step out of my hair.
Ugh.